Today I'm going to show you how to set a preset in Lightroom for copyrighting your images, how to apply that copyright to a single image or to bulk images, and how to set up the preset so that it does it for all of your images going forward when you do an upload. You ready? Let's go. Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to Rusty Brown Photography. I'm Rusty. Today we're talking about copyright, and specifically copyrighting your images. The first thing I want to do today, though, is show you how to set up a preset in Lightroom for copywriting. Let's get to it. Okay, so I brought up Lightroom Classic, as you can see, and over in the top right, you see the library module is selected. You want to go to the library module, and then down on the right side, you see this one here called Metadata. That's what we want to work with. Right underneath Metadata, you'll see Preset is none. Click the drop down here, Edit Presets. Now you're going to get a box that shows up that you can see here on the screen, right? And what we're going to do basically is step through and show you the fields, and then I'm going to show you the fields that I have. But basically, when you get this screen, you want to scroll down here to where it says IPTC copyright, right? And then in the top right, at the very top of that box where it says copyright, to make the copyright symbol, if you're on a Mac, it's Option C. If you're on a Windows machine, it's Control-Alt-C, and that puts the little C inside the circle for copyright. Control-Alt-C gives us that copyright symbol, and then you would basically put in your name there. Next, where it says rights and usage terms, the easiest thing that I found to use is just all rights reserved. And as a quick note here, folks, everything that I'm doing here, these steps as well as the language that I put inside of the box are going to be in the show notes in the description below. So you can either stop and do it along with the video, or you can just grab them, cut them, and paste them, and you'll be good to go. All right? Copyright URL, if you have a website, rustybrown.photography.com, you want to put it here. One point to note, though, don't put a link to a social media site in this box. In other words, I know a lot of folks use Instagram for their portfolios. Nothing wrong with that if that's your thing. But you don't want to put a link to any form of social media, Instagram, Twitter, whatever in there, because if that goes away, and that's owned by someone else, obviously, right? Twitter's owned by someone, Instagram's owned by someone, all social media platforms are owned by someone, you're now going to be pointing your images to that entity. So if you have a website, and we've talked about this before, your own website, that's what you would put in there. But here's the thing, you don't have to have anything in the URL field if you don't have a website. But don't copy and paste the link to a website for anything other than that of your own in that particular block, or you're going to end up hosing up your copyright, right? So let's get back to it. So that's under IPTC copyright. That is the basic. Now under Creator, you can get as specific as you want. Your name here. You can put address, blah, blah, blah. You can put down here where it says create an email, your name at you.com, whatever. Website is the same again. Job title if you want to. President and CEO, right? You can scroll down a little bit, and if you look at the IPTC status box on the credit line, who do you want to get credit? Again, for me, I just put in Rusty Brown Photography. And it's okay if you want to leave the source clear, but you can put your name in there as well. Just like that. Boom. Right? So when you come down, you just keep scrolling through the box. You get down to the end, right? You call it done. When you hit done, it says, do you want to save changes as a new preset? You hit save as. And then you're going to see this box, preset name. And we're going to call this copyright tutorial, just like that. And when you create it, Now if we go back, we're still in the library module, right? If we go back over here to presets, we now have copyright tutorial above RBP. One of the things I wanted to show you real quickly is my own copyright page. So if going to metadata, presets, if I click on the drop down and hit RBP for Rusty Brown Photography, it launches mine, and what you'll see if you scroll to the bottom, you'll see the language that we just talked about. Contact, president, email, website, right? All these things are on the right side. You come down a little bit further, credit line, the source, and here's the copyright status. Copyrighted by me, all rights reserved. And I also put usage terms in here, which I will put in the description below. All rights reserved, no reproduction or copies without prior permission. So that's what I have on mine. All right, so now what I want to do is show you basically how would you apply something like this. So you're looking at this particular screen that I have up in Lightroom. Let's look at, here's a shot of Margot, and as you can see over on the right side, metadata is still dropped. You can see all the information about the picture, when it was taken, all your EXIF data is right here on the right. But if you come down to the bottom, you'll see copyright is unknown. Now one thing to keep in mind, sometimes Lightroom just misses, because this shot of Margot was taken as part of another set in which the entire set was copyrighted, and for whatever reason, after the edit was done, it failed to copyright. So for the purposes of this discussion, we're treating this just like it's an uncopyrighted image, okay? So now what we want to do is, if we scroll up back to the top of metadata right here, where it says metadata, and underneath you see preset is none. Let's click on that, and I'm going to apply mine. So now the preset says that RBP has been applied to this image of Margot. Let's scroll down to the bottom and see. There you go. Look at the bottom right. Whereas before there was nothing there, now you see the entirety of that. Okay, so we go back and take a look at what we have in this particular catalog. And we can do the same thing with Victoria. Click on Victoria. And if you look down here on the bottom right, for copyright, there's nothing there. It says unknown. We can do the same thing again. You look at the image. We go up to the top, and right there where it says preset on the right is none, we're going to apply RBP to it. Scroll down to the bottom. Now this image of Victoria, just like the image of Margot, has a copyright on it. So as you can see, it's really easy to create a preset for copyright and apply it to images. Now I'm going to show you how to take that same preset and set it up so that every time you import images, it's applied. All right, let's take a look at that. All you do, if you go down to the bottom left and you click on import, when you get your import dialog screen, look over on the right, and you can see here where I have next to metadata, I have RBP selected. That means that every time I upload an image, my particular copyright information will be applied to all of them. If I were to click copyright tutorial, which is the one we just created earlier on, that would be applied. Or if I wanted to do a new one, I could create one here. So once you've set up your preset, you just want to go to your import dialog box, come over to metadata, and where it says apply during import, select it. And now every time you import images, your copyright will be applied. Okay, the next thing I'm going to show you is how to apply your new copyright to a bunch of images at the same time. Now I'm going to use an example that you may or may not have had. Someone gives you some images that they didn't copyright. You should not be putting your copyright on them. So an example I'm going to give you, I've got some images from my son Vern that he took when my daughter Missy got married. So Vern was the photographer for Missy's wedding. Sometime after the wedding, I told Vern I wanted to get some of these images so I could do some print, whatever. He sent them to me, but they weren't copyrighted. So anytime someone, particularly a photographer, sends me images like that, whether they're raw or otherwise, I don't copyright them at all. I just leave them alone because the images really don't belong to me. They're not my property. But in this case, I can use this to show you exactly how you would do it in one easy swoop. So you take a look at what we got up on in Lightroom right now. I'm over here. If you look over on the left, I got Missy and Glenn ceremony, and right underneath that, I got Missy and Glenn reception. So these are the pictures that Vern took that he kept from the ceremony. And if we look at like number 7 here, look at that handsome dog. Looking good, right? Proud dad that he is. In any event, If you go down to the bottom right, you'll see that there's no copyright here. It's listed as unknown. So what we want to do in this case is I am going to create a new one, just like I just showed you, and I'm only going to put Vern's name in it, and he can do everything else that he would need to do to it, right? So just like we just talked about. We're in the library module. I'm going to go over here, preset. I'm going to say edit presets. Once we have this screen up, remember we go down to IPTC, copyright, right? So in here I'm going to put his name. If I could type. Rights and usage, I'm just going to say all rights reserved. Now all I'm doing here in this case, I'm not filling out everything else. I just want to make sure that something gets on here for these. So when I hit done, it's going to say, do you want to save as a new preset? Yes. Box comes up. We'll call them Vern's images. So now, while you have the same screen in Lightroom, you hit a Control A, it selects everything. You come over to your right where it says metadata. Underneath there you see the preset. Hit the drop down. We click Vern's images. Apply metadata preset. It's going to do it to all the selected photos as it says in the middle of the screen. All selected. You see up at the top left it was pretty quick, but you saw a dialog screen go by. Now if we go back, again, looking at this handsome young fella here, we scroll down to the bottom. Bang. There you go, copyright, Vernon Brown, all rights reserved. It's in there for all those images. So now that we've created that one time, right, we can come back up here, again in the library module, click the very next one, which is the reception. Same thing. There's no copyright on any of these images. Control A. We go over to metadata on the right, where it says preset. We're going to hit the drop down. We're going to hit Vern's images. All selected. There you go. Now I can click on any one of these images, right? Like this one. Scroll down to the bottom. Looked like they were having a good time. A lot of liquor going on in them cups. And you see Vern's copyright on the one I just made down at the bottom. And folks, that's how you would actually send your copyright to all images in a catalog or a collection very easily. One other point to keep in mind is EXIF data. EXIF data is like the fingerprint of an image, right? But copyright, which gets added to that EXIF data, proves ownership. EXIF data does not prove ownership. It just tells you every technical detail about the image. Copyright says it belongs to me. It belongs to you. As an example, if you look at some EXIF data like this, I'm going to go back to Vern's photo, or to Vern's album, right? And we're going to look at this picture right here. EXIF data tells you everything. Look over on the right, the reception, file size, date taken, etc. But I want you to pay attention right here on the right. This tells you that it was a Canon, and it was a Canon EOS 80D. And it actually has the serial number here, right there, the serial number of that camera. That EXIF data is important, so no one could actually replicate that because it's just one camera. So in some regards, the EXIF data could be all you really need. You know, the copyright isn't an end-all be-all, it's just another layer of protection for you. If you have the serial number to your camera and you had to go to court to prove who owned this particular image, you'd be okay as long as you had that camera in the original image. But the copyright of this image that we just put on here for Vern now gives him one more layer of protection on that image that he previously didn't have. When you look at the EXIF data for this image of Trey Turner, for example, right, you can see that it was shot on a Sony. This ILC A99 M2 is basically Sony's A99 Mark II. Although it doesn't have a serial number, and it says the artist is me, and it tells you what software, which Sony software was used to record the image. I am probably the only person that you guys know that really, technically I wouldn't have to do copyright, because right there in that EXIF data where it says Sony A99 Mark II. I don't think any of you know anyone else who actually shoots with that camera. So if I had the challenge, or if I had to answer the challenge as to whether or not this image of Trey Turner was mine, and they had the same EXIF data, whoever copied the image from me, they would have to produce this camera that doesn't exist anymore, that very few people were shooting with in the first place, to even do that. But you don't want to leave it up to, you know, just anybody. So let's take a quick review and wrap this up. Okay, so look, here you are. You've got a really nice camera. You've taken the time to set up a photo shoot. You got all your images. Things are looking really good. Typically, what most people do next is they go to their laptop or their PC. They take out their memory card, like this SanDisk Extreme Pro, like we talked about in a prior episode. They pop it in the machine, but where they tend to miss a step, or a lot of people do anyway, is, you know, they get to the point where they just start uploading to the cloud and uploading to the World Wide Web. The problem with this scenario is they failed to copyright their images. And when you fail to copyright your images, later you end up feeling like, uh-oh, something's wrong. What have I done? My images are all out there. I've got this sick feeling in the pit of my stomach, because now I'm thinking that, you know, AI is out there. And we all know that AI is getting smarter and smarter, and it's grabbing all kinds of things from people's images to generate its own stuff. Now it can take yours and you can't prove that that image is yours. It's as if you basically unlocked your images and just put them out there for the world to see, or more specifically, any faceless person out there who has a computer or computers can get in there and get your image and claim it as their own. But if we were to go back in time for just a second, now when you're at this point though, and you take your memory card like you have here, before you just go straight away out to the World Wide Web and the cloud, you want to launch your Lightroom Classic like we just talked about. While you're in Lightroom Classic, you can then apply your copyright to all of your images before you start to do your uploads, you know, to the cloud like here, or to the World Wide Web. And what this does basically is this will keep you from having that, oh, wait a minute, I forgot to copyright my images. I have a headache and that sick feeling in the pit of my stomach, to basically coming up with this particular smile. You're happy now, and you're happy because at the end of the day, before you put anything out there online, you copyrighted everything on your computer for your images using Lightroom, so that now you can be happy that all these different locations and places, whether it's social media, the World Wide Web, email to a friend or whatever, everything has your individual copyright on it, and you feel A-OK and much better. You're not sick, and nothing is in the pit of your stomach. We spend thousands of dollars every year on, you know, gear, insurance for the gear, travel time, studio rentals, wardrobe, lodging, image processing, software, you name it. We spend all of that time and money on that, and no matter what it is, whether it's a DSLR like this guy right here, or whether it's the new latest and greatest Leica point and shoot for $6,000, they're all acquired, right, for one purpose and one purpose only, which is the image. So it just seems a bit ridiculous that we would spend all of that money and all of that time, all of that energy and all of that effort to get that image that we want, and then basically give that image away to anyone who wants it because you didn't put a copyright on it. Now, I don't do watermarks. I know some people that do, and yes, that is a deterrent. I went through a watermark phase years ago. I don't do it anymore. So you can still do that, but a watermark does not guarantee you the security that copyrighting your images does. So you can do them both, but if you only elect to do one, my recommendation would be to go ahead and do the copyright. Once it's in there, and it's going to help protect you. Will you end up in court, you know, trying to claim ownership of an image? Probably not. Probably not. Will someone steal your image over the life of it that it's in a public domain? Probably so. But the last thing you want to do is walk into a store and see an image that you took, right, on the cover of a magazine with somebody else claiming credit for it and getting paid for it. That's not a good thing. Any image that you would consider posting or keeping, even if you don't post it, should be copywritten or have your copyright on it. As you saw today, it's very easy to set up the preset. And here's the thing. You can set as many presets as you want. You can be a wedding photographer, a product photographer, a landscape photographer, and decide that those are 3 different businesses. You set up a preset for each one and you apply them based on what you do. You shoot a wedding, you apply your wedding photography copyright. You do landscape, you apply that one. For me, because I'm not a pro, I'm just somebody who likes photography, the one that I have works for everything, and that may work for you as well. There is no limit to the number of copyright presets you can have. There's also no excuse for you not to have at least one copyright preset to protect your images. So hopefully you guys have found this little tutorial helpful. I was surprised recently when I found out that, several people that I know and respect just don't copyright their images, and it seems like such a waste because they're such good photographers and they spend so much time, energy, and effort in their photography, like I'm sure you do. So that's all we got time for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you haven't done so already, please like and subscribe, as it does help this channel and it helps me to continue to produce good content like this. Until next time, I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful day.